Yes, everyone, welcome back. My name is Stephen Howson, and this is 5 things that we learned watching United put 9 things past Southampton. In at number 1, then, there is your response. In a week where United have had a real good go at derailing what was a very emerging sort of title charge, we needed a response. We needed that. I mean, Arsenal was tricky. Sheffield United was wrong and bad and all those things. But it happens in football. Arsenal was one where we rue our missed chances. But to stop a slip becoming a blip, we had to turn it around. And in hindsight, it looks ridiculous to say Southampton can be a tricky opposition. And they can. You know, this team literally beat Liverpool last month. They can be a tricky opposition. The way the game started and the way the game developed and all the rest of it, United's 9-0 mauling of them made it look like there was a piece of piss from the start, but it wasn't the case. It's levelled our biggest ever winning margin in a Premier League game, which is another record that we've ticked off under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And yes, did that red card in the first 90 seconds of the game affect the outcome? Undoubtedly. But not every game where someone gets sent off ends up 9-0. Literally, one other game in the Premier League has ended 9-0. That's it. Well, in recent times, I guess we've scored 9 in the past, but it doesn't happen often. And watching United break down a team which immediately went into a low block was mega interesting. The ability to do that, 9 men, 10 men, whatever aside, it's still a difficult ask for us to do it. But we were very clinical and we were very good at creating chances. Now, I think that result is going to ultimately end up standing for a lot more and represent a lot of confidence. No, we've been saying, haven't we, a few times, we believe in this Manchester United side to score goals. We don't think, oh, we're finished when someone gets a goal against us. We go, oh, we'll score. There's plenty of time. And I think scoring 9 against a team that sat back, I mean, they completely capitulated after 5, which is funny to say, but you know, they was holding shape and still fighting up until that point. After that, they completely crumbled. And if United had got another couple of minutes, we might have got 10. But United have now scored more goals than anybody else in the Premier League this season, and only 3 teams have scored more in Europe's top 5 leagues. Are United worth the hype? It still feels like there's gears for us to go through, but we are scoring lots of goals. Number 2. A Luke Shaw attacking masterclass. Yes, I have been critical of Luke Shaw, both in attack and in defence. He's improved his attacking output, he's improved his teamwork, and he's improved his contribution to the team as a whole. I still have reservations of him in defence, and I don't understand how a lot of you really don't understand those reservations. People have said, why don't I make a compilation? Well, for starters, that's going to take a lot of time, and that is incredibly obsessed. And for the people that think I hate Luke Shaw, that would definitely be validation of something in that sort of sense. I'm not going to do that. I don't hate Luke Shaw. I have reservations about his defensive output and about how often he jogs back into position. But yesterday, his attacking contribution, which has been massively improved over the course of this season, was fantastic. A couple of well-delivered crosses, more than a couple of well-delivered crosses, actually, and we got on the back end of them. He seems to have regained the confidence in going forward, which he had prior to that leg break. He's getting into the box with far more regularity than he has done for the longest time. Maybe it's with a manager that trusts him. Maybe it's with a manager that doesn't criticise him in public the way he has had previously. But he was operating with complete freedom, as was Wan-Bissaka actually on the opposite flank. Complete freedom to get into the final third, and when he was doing so, he was picking out his passes fantastically. Provided the assist for Wan-Bissaka's opener. Think of that. Luke Shaw provided an assist for Wan-Bissaka to get in there, and then for Cavani's header, 2 pinpoint crosses. He's only bettered by Andy Robertson when it comes to chance creation amongst Premier League defenders this season with 32. On a night where there was fucking no defensive work required, he shone on that left-hand side. If he continues to have this level of output going forward, you can start to dismiss some of the frailties in his defensive side of the game if he's being effective. It's like Bruno. Bruno has, and we'll talk about Bruno in a second, Bruno has this habit of trying the Hollywood, the risky ball, and forcing it sometimes. And when it doesn't come off, his contribution to the team can look poor as a contrast. But when he's being effective, you can't deny it. Last night, you couldn't deny what Shaw was doing. So if he keeps up that attacking output, sound. Number 3, Bruno back on track. So it was a run of 4 games. How dare he? 4 games for a midfielder without a single goal or an assist to his name. That absolute fraud. But it was slightly concerning to see United go 4-0 up and Bruno not to have contributed to a single goal. What's going on? Has he lost it? But then it was refreshing to see United not rely on him as well at the same time. And to get as many goals without the need. Inevitably, Bruno did spring up into life. And in the second half, he was providing 2 assists to go alongside the obligatory Bruno Fernandes penalty. He's now been directly involved in 36 goals in 36 Premier League games. Unbelievable. He completed 51 passes, 44 of which was in the final third. He did have 6 shots, 3 on target. He created 5 chances, made 2 ball recoveries, 2 clearances, and 2 tackles. To say he had a direct hand in 3 goals and he still wasn't man of the match just emphasises just how well United played. Number 4, Super Scott McTominay. A lot of people were critical of McTominay's inclusion at the starting lineup. When they saw no Paul Pogba in the team, they was like, why are we playing 2 defensive midfielders at home to Southampton? A Southampton team that presses the life out of you, it's not the worst idea. I went with a diamond. I would have packed the midfield. That's what I wanted to see, really. But it was another excellent Scott McTominay performance. He had a 100% dribble success rate, 100% of his aerial duels were won, 100% of his tackles, and 90% pass accuracy, including 40 in the final third, making 7 ball recoveries. We've got a serious midfield talent in McTominay, and he could end up going on having the sort of impact that the likes of Darren Fletcher and Nicky Butt had, where probably doesn't start week in, week out. He's not the first name on the team sheet, but there is a time and there is a place when he needs to be called upon. There is a time and there is a place where he needs to play. And invariably, when he's called upon, he puts in a good 7 or 8 out of 10 performance. He's also got a weird habit of scoring absolute bangers as well. Has he scored a tap-in? I don't think he scored a shit goal. But I think when you get McTominay and Fred in the team, because they're not footballers on the level of Paul Pogba, and I'm talking pure footballing skill and ability, I think they quicken United's game. In much the same way that you would go, I don't think anyone in that midfield of Liverpool is on the level of Paul Pogba. Because they're a very functional midfield, they just move it forward. And in the same way where, it's probably a coincidence, and I'm sure, it'll change over time as time goes by. Liverpool's win rate with Thiago starting is awful. Might be 1 win, 2 wins, something along those lines. Because of how good Thiago and Pogba are, does it upset the balance of what can be a quite functional midfield? When you look at United's midfield with Bruno, McTominay and Fred, and you look at United's midfield with the inclusion of Paul Pogba, I personally think Paul Pogba's played well when he's been selected. But does he slow it down? Is the reliance on Paul Pogba, knowing and knowledge of Paul Pogba being a good footballer, detrimental to United? Do we look for him rather than look to get it forward quicker? I'm going to have to go back and watch it with that eye, but I've been doing a bit of that this week. I've been looking at some games with and without him to see how many passes it takes, how many times we would bypass Fred or McTominay, for instance, or look for Bruno a little bit earlier. And I wonder if actually United might play more effective. And I guess this is what we're going back to what we're talking about with Shaw and with Bruno. This is all, it's not necessarily about who plays the prettiest patterns. That's what Arsenal did in the 2000s and fucking wanked themselves into oblivion. It's not about do you look good playing football. It's about are you effective? And I think United might be more effective without Paul Pogba. Number 5, Saturday is going to be a big indicator. Now, that result could lead on to so many more things. That result can really kick United on to another winning run. It might really give the players confidence that we can always overcome low blocks. It could do lots of things. It stopped the slip being a slump, and I think that's a big thing. Now, obviously, means nothing if you then go on and lose the next 2-3 games. Everton visit Old Trafford on Saturday night. I'm sick of these 8 o'clock kickoffs. And it's going to be a big indication of whether or not that result and performance was purely freak. And I mean, 9-0 is freak. It's literally happened for United twice. Or if we found our confidence again and we can start putting together a bit more of a run and start actually destroying teams on home soil. I mentioned about Manchester City a month or so ago. And I said, they're that ruthless winning machine. How many times do you see them just turn up and twat someone? They do it all the time. We don't do that, or we don't do that certainly often enough. Under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we've done that more than any of the managers in between him and Fergie. That tells me he is the man. He is the right kind of guy. If that's the case, and we continue the phenomenal form away from home, we could be on course to see a special season. Whether that results in silverware in May, whether that means we win a title, it's been a vast improvement on anything post-Fergie. And that is worth celebrating. Progress has happened. The fact that there's even been arguments about whether to call it a title race, I don't remember an argument like that under Moyes, under Louis, under Jose. So just enjoy it.